A middle-aged man is lying, actually sitting on his deck chair with his feet up, folded back, at the side of the harbour's wall, fishing rod perched in some sort of bracket holding it, as the man lay back, hands behind his head, sunglasses on, hat tilted over his forehead, a beautiful nice cold drink at his side, enjoying the sun on a beautiful, tranquil harbour day. Suddenly a young entrepreneur, walks at his side and says, "Excuse me, sir, I hope you don't mind my encroaching your space, but I've been watching you fishing for the last 4 hours. You've not caught one fish. Can I give you some advice on maybe improving your lifestyle, challenging and overcoming this world of impoverished laziness?" And the man lifted his hand behind his head, lifted his hat above, on top of his head, and tilted his sunglasses to reveal his shut eyes. As the sun hit his eyes, he looked up. "Ah, you're an entrepreneur." "Yes, I'm happy to take your advice. I don't know what an entrepreneur is, but I'm happy to speak to any strange man. You're not encroaching on my day. I'm just enjoying my day." "Go ahead," he says. The entrepreneur, he stands aside the man and says, looks out to sea and says, "You know what? If you got yourself a pair of waders and moved into the ocean deep enough, you would catch bigger fish. I've done my research 100 meters out, where it's still able to stand. The fish are much bigger, and that larger fish could be sold. And the money you make, you could buy a small rowing boat and maybe 2 fishing rods. Therefore, you can catch double the big fish, because even 400 meters out, where the water is too deep to wade, the fish are even bigger and more in mass. And when you catch so much of that fish, at some point you'll be able to buy yourself a bigger boat. And when you buy your bigger boat, you can go out to sea, where the fish are many, different qualities, different types of fish, shellfish, everything. And you can throw over cages to catch some crabs and lobsters. And you can, at some point, be able to afford a large net. And when you get that large net and that lobster cages and your fishing rods and a couple of maybe young lads that you can afford to pay now, your catches can be very, very big. And you can, at some point, become very rich. And when you become very rich, you'll be able to pay a crew to go out and catch all the fish for you. And you'll be able to double the size of the boats, because they'll be bringing in so much money, so much fish, that you can start a company. And the result of starting a company is that beautiful idea of allowing everyone to do the work for you. And for you to lie somewhere nice, with your feet up, and sunglasses on and a cold drink, and live the rest of your life very happy and content at what you have done. And the entrepreneur got very deep when he was telling this story. And he looked around to see if the middle-aged man was listening. And the middle-aged man lifted his glasses when he stopped speaking and says, "What do you mean? Like this?" The entrepreneur looked confused and puzzled and went on his way, scratching his head, while the middle-aged man leant back, sipped his cold drink, put his sunglasses down, and laughed. The old frog and centipede story. The frog sits in the side of the road every day, and every day the centipede comes past. And every day, every morning, the frog says, "Good morning, centipede." The centipede nods its head and goes along the way. This happens every morning for many, many months, many years, every day. "Good morning, centipede." The centipede continues to walk past the frog and nods its head. And one day the frog looked a bit confused. As the centipede approached, he says, "Good morning, centipede." And the centipede nods its head. And just as he was passing the frog said, "Centipede, can I speak to you?" And the centipede suddenly stopped. And the frog said to the centipede, "I've been watching you every day for months walking past. And you have so many legs. How many legs do you have?" And the centipede, "Well, I have 100 legs." And the frog says, "That's amazing. I've been wondering every day how you manage to walk with 100 legs. How do you do it? Which leg goes first, second, and onwards to the 100th? How do you manage to focus on how these legs operate?" The centipede looks at the frog, puzzled and confused. Looks down at his legs, back at the frog. He says, "I don't know." The frog says, "Oh well, have a good day." The centipede nods, turns to walk away. And each leg, looking at his legs, wondering how they work, soon get tangled. The centipede soon is tied up, wondering how the hell it managed to get in such a mess. An old couple had lived on a farm for many years, since they were young, married. The old lady was knitting outside in the porch, and the man, he was raking the garden of their homegrown vegetables. A new farmer had entered the adjoining farm and came past one day and said, "Hello, I'm the new neighbor. I've bought the new farm next to yours." And the man and woman says, "Oh, that's very nice. Welcome." He said to the old couple, "I'm a shepherd. What did you do?" And the old man says, "Yeah, I'm also a shepherd." And the new neighbor says, "Oh, where do you keep your sheep?" "On the hill," he says. "My sheep is always on the hill." And the young, prosperous neighbor shepherd said, "Oh, very good. I have 200 sheep. I've purchased them with the land." And the old couple said, "Oh, that's very good. You're going to have very much hard work. It's not easy being a shepherd, you know." He says, "I know. I'm hoping to get some help from you in teaching, and it's because I'm new at this game. How many sheep do you have, can I ask?" And the old man stops raking the garden and says, "Oh, I have one sheep." "One sheep? How do you manage to survive if you're a shepherd with one sheep?" "Oh," he says, "it's okay, it's very good. Life is prosperous here. We've lived here for many years. We're very happy and content." "Oh," he says. And the young new neighbor looks confused and quite embarrassed. He says, "Oh, I better go. I've asked them for help and they only have one sheep." "Okay," he says, I'll see you around, yeah? And the old couple says, "Yeah, very good luck to you, young man. Just give us a call if you need some help." And the woman continued to knit the wool, and the old man returned to raking and hoeing the new vegetables that were about to be ripe and ready to eat. A few weeks pass, and the new neighbor comes back to see them one day. "Ah, hello." And the old man, still raking the vegetables and painting the fence, says to them, "How are you getting on? How are you getting on as your new role as a shepherd?" "Oh," he says, "it's very difficult." He says, "I had 200 sheep, but only 190 returned the other day. I lost 10. I don't know where they went. I think they've been killed by some fox. I don't know. But it's okay. I'm going to start lambing in a couple of days, so I'll make up for that 10. And I had to buy another dog because the collie that I had hurt its leg while it was rounding up the sheep, so I now have 2 dogs. I didn't have the heart to get rid of the old dog, so I've kept 2, and he's training the new dog." And the old man says, "That's very good. You're very wise, That's what shepherding is all about." And of course the young neighbor says, okay, looked strangely at the old man, saying, "I know much more than you. You have only one sheep, and I've never seen that sheep." So again, many, many weeks pass, months, and the new shepherd arrives at the old couple again. The old woman is still knitting, and the old man is now milking a lame cow. "Oh, you also have other kind of animals," says the shepherd. "Oh yes," he says, "I have a cow. It provides our milk. And I have a hen, and it provides some eggs. And a pig provides some bacon for us." And he says, "Oh, very good." He says, I wouldn't have time for all these animals, 250 sheep now I have. And I'm getting bigger, you see. I had to shear the sheep the other day. But the problem is when you shear the sheep, you need to find some way of getting rid of the wool. And so I had to buy some more mechanical help. And I had to hire a hand to get someone to shear the sheep because my wife is not really trained in that yet. But we're getting on really well. And it's hard work, taking the sheep in at night and finding them and shearing them and feeding them and lambing them and everything. He says, "But it's worthwhile." He says, "I can see it. You, old couple, have really done well. Your house is very nice and you've made a lot of things." He says, old man says, "Yeah, I'm very good at doing things on my own. My wife is very good. We're very accomplished people." He says, "Oh," he says, "okay." He says, "How is your sheep?" And the old man says, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it since you first came. It's up in the hills somewhere. It'll be fine." And he says, "You don't worry about your sheep." No, he says, "The sheep will be fine." So a few weeks pass. And the new shepherd's kind of worried. And one day, and they're sitting, doing their little chores on the porch. And the new young shepherd asks how things are going. And they say, "Everything is going fine, yeah." "How is your sheep?" "Oh," he says, "I lost 40 sheep the other day. I sheared them all and they went up into the hills. And I don't know what happened, but only 150 came down." He says, "I don't know what happened. The dogs couldn't find them." He says, "But you know what? I'll go and lamb some more and keep the stock up." And just as he finished speaking, A single sheep walked over the little hill towards the old man's house. And the new young shepherd looked and said, "That's not one of my sheep. My sheep are marked blue. This one is green. And my sheep have all been sheared. This one is full of wool. It is so woolly that you cannot even see its head." And the old lady stops knitting and says, "Oh, that's our sheep. It's come home." And the old sheep makes its way down the hill, and they all watch it. And it stops at the gate, and the farmer goes and lets it into the gate. And it strokes its head, and it comes in, and it simply lies down, and the farmer and the wife sit by its side as it slowly stops breathing and dies. Our sheep is home. Good, we have more wool now. We have more meat. It keeps us going, you know. And the young farmer says, "What the hell happened there? I thought you were kidding me on. I thought you didn't have any sheep. I never saw you leave the farm. I thought you were just maybe slightly confused and old." And the old farmer says, No, we always have a sheep, you know. But the sheep, it is allowed to travel free. It is allowed to be free. It is allowed to fend for itself. It has the whole hills above as its home. And when it's done, it comes. And because we have allowed it its freedom, it comes home to offer us its wool. That's why all your young sheep has died, young men, because you keep shearing it. Therefore the foxes have much more flesh to get into their teeth. But my sheep, I never shear it. The wool, it will come home someday, as will the meat. And the young man says, "Oh, I see. You have so much faith." And the old couple say, "Yeah, that's what it's all about, you see. We have faith that the vegetables will grow. We have faith that the sheep will be okay. We have faith in everything. We trust that the sheep knows when its time is up, then it comes home and lies down with great gratitude for us letting it free." And the young shepherd says, "That's wonderful. So you live by the land?" "Oh, yes. There's only one way to do it. It's to trust." And the young farmer, the young shepherd says, "So what about that sheep? Did you buy it?" And the old couple says, "You know what? No. We sat here one day in the porch saying, wouldn't it be nice to have a sheep? And instead of dreaming about it, instead of doing something, we didn't look for anything. We just said, wouldn't it be nice to have a sheep?" And then one day the sheep appeared, about 25 years ago. And it gave us wool and it gave us meat. And every year another sheep appears. We never purchased a sheep. They some just appear. "How come?" says the young shepherd. "Oh, we don't know. We don't ask questions, you see. We just raise some nice thoughts. And sometimes they come true. And sometimes they don't. But something looks after us. Because we trust and have faith and accept that some years may be bad, some years may be good. But it's not up to us to make an effort, because life itself is making an effort for us. We're not greedy. We don't want anything more. We don't desire wonderful vacations and beautiful mansions. We just do the best we can with what we have. This old sheep now, it will die. It has died for us. We will shear it. My wife will use the wool, and we will knit stuff for our own welfare. It's not about keeping the clothes that we knit. It's about doing the knitting. It's about raking the garden. It's about painting the fence. It's about keeping ourselves active and loving and free and not greedy. And a young shepherd says, I feel as if I'm wasting my life trying to get more. And the old man says, no, you're not wasting your life. You're learning about life. And one day you'll realize that more is not necessary. God provides us everything. Another sheep may come next year. It may not. It matters not. Something will appear to keep us trusting and faithful and accepting. And this God that serves us all with no effort. These 3 stories I'd like to leave you with. The first 2 are not of my making, the third one is. They're very simple. They're very basic. They're not interesting. They're not going to lead you to God. They're not going to give you anything other than what you already have. Faith. Faith in what is taking place. Trust that everything will be good, and accept everything that comes and doesn't come. It matters not. Life is precious. Life is pure. Life is loving. Life is kind. Life is compassionate. Life is never the same, coming and going. But I love life as that, what I am.